Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Sportsline. I'm your host, Simon Floss. Today I have the pleasure of sitting with Brett Bennett, the head golf coach for men's and women's at USF. Brett, how are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you for having me.
Good. Thank you for stopping by,
Yes.
taking time out of your busy day. So tell me just a little bit about yourself. I understand it's your third year coaching here at USF. Can you give me a little background about yourself and your journey to USF?
Yeah, certainly. Coaching has always been a goal of mine, and I saw a position here open at USF and decided to apply for it and gladly accepted it once it was offered. I've been around golf since I've been a kid. Grew up at the golf course, played collegiate golf down at the University of South Dakota, and when I was done with school, had a business management degree and decided to actually get into the golf business itself. So I've got another position here in town. I work over at the Country Club of Sioux Falls as an assistant golf professional, and so that keeps me busy during the summer. Once the season comes around, I like to juggle both, and really it's difficult, but at the same time, still give the kids what they need here on campus. So that's my other job. Otherwise, I play golf as much as I can, and just enjoy being around the game.
Great. Do you have a favorite professional golfer?
Lately, I guess it's maybe been Jordan Spieth's been hot. Okay. Personally, he's really fun to watch. His attitude and his personality towards the game is top notch for being as young as he is. I really like where the game is at with him being the top player in the world.
Yeah, Tiger kind of fell off a little bit, huh?
That happened. That did. So it's other guys' era at this time, and we'll see what happens.
Sure. Well, let's get down to the USF stuff. Sure. I understand you're the men's and women's head golf coach. Normally, not typically normally, but maybe it's kind of odd to see someone be the men's and women's. Can you talk about maybe some of the struggles, but also the great things about that, maybe added responsibility and just getting the best from everybody?
Sure, yeah. It's, within our conference, there's 3 other universities that one person holds both positions. So there are other people who do it within the conference, excuse me. It was a learning curve. Obviously, being on a men's golf team growing up, learning how women, their yardages, how they play the game, it's different. So, that was maybe one struggle at the beginning, was beginning to learn how they handle themselves on the golf course and their game, how it differs compared to the men's side. But really, it's been a blessing to get to know, the women that we have on the team, and it's been a pleasure to open myself up to that aspect of the game, and have enjoyed really having both. Overall, it's going to be a great experience for me going forward with whatever holds, other coaching positions hopefully down the road. And I feel like that experience is you can't replace that.
Absolutely. Amazing. So your season just wrapped up.
Yep.
Talk about maybe some of the highlights and just things that really went well for you guys
Sure.
this season.
I really felt like we had 3 freshmen on the women's side who were coming in and replacing big shoes that were left by our seniors from last year. So the 3 freshmen really had a good season, and really for the freshmen, it's a matter of getting some experience, getting to know the university. They're away from home, and allowing them to feel comfortable. We had Audrey, our senior. She had a season that maybe she'd want to improve on going into the spring, but at the same time, her leadership on and off the golf course is something that you can't ever replace. Michaela, our junior, who's our playing number 1 for us, really led by example on the golf course, gave us some scores that we really needed to try to compete within the conference. We've got a couple of teams at the top that are very strong, and I think trying to achieve and understand what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and trying to really replicate and get to the top. On the men's side, I think it was a really good team effort. I'm not going to really point out anything too individual. I know Derek Dillon, for him being his junior year, really put together some consistent scores and gave us what we needed from him and what I've been looking for 2 years now. But really overall, I feel like the teams really came together, and that's the beginning of the season, bringing in the freshmen. And our fall portion is over with, and now we'll take our off season and get to hit some balls in the net and chip and putt in the bubble, and really change some technical aspects of their game that need to be changed to achieve the next level and get prepared for the spring. And having both seasons really allows us to kind of get a taste of both seasons also within the weather climates too.
As you mentioned, some people have really been stepping up. You lose a great deal of leadership every year when some seniors leave. So who are maybe some underclassmen or just people who have been around the program that have really stepped up and are showing improvement and just leading the programs in the right direction?
Yeah, I had mentioned Michaela earlier. She's a junior. So taking that responsibility, and if you're not that person in general who likes to speak out and really grab a group and hold on to them, it's difficult at first, but understanding that role and allowing yourself to think that way and understand that, hey, this is what I need to do, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to lead. So she would be one on the women's side. On the men's side, I think, again, Derek Dillon and Ben Loosebrock, who are juniors, really understanding, that's what they need to do also. So
great.
Yep.
What are kind of some things that you think both squads need to work on?
Short game. Always can be short game, chipping and putting, but another one would be attitude. Not that it's ever, sometimes it's easy to get negative on the golf course because you're out there for 4.5, 5 hours and you are going to hit some bad shots. How do you recover from those bad shots and really allow yourself to think properly? This game is 90% mental. Being out there, we've got coaches, but at the same time, these players are out there by themselves against competition, and it's tough to stay mentally focused. So, attitude along with the mental game is always something that a golfer can improve on, and trying to stay positive is my first thing as a coach that players always need to work on.
Great. So the spring season's coming up. What is just maybe one or two quick things that you're really looking forward to as far as the spring season?
Spring break. Yeah. Taking a spring break trip. I know the kids always enjoy it, and to take them down south and hang out for a week, live in a house, and really it's a nice team building deal. Be able to play a little bit of competition, but spring break, I think that's what we all look forward to.
I look forward to it too, and
yes.
I'm not even on the golf team.
That's right.
So awesome. I'd like to thank you for your time.
My
Come
pleasure,
back
Simon.
anytime. Stay tuned. We will be right back with more people on Sportsline.
At the University of Sioux Falls, students earn more than a degree. They gain an experience that transforms their lives. While they list the Christian community, dynamic professors, and premier career opportunities as top benefits, it's not just what they become, but who they become that USF graduates value most. USF, where you become who you become.
Welcome back to Sportsline. I'm Simon Floss. I have the pleasure of sitting here with the head strength and conditioning coach, Coach Mathers at USF. How are you doing today?
Very good.
Good. Thanks for stopping by. So you are the head strength and conditioning coach of all sports at University of Sioux Falls, am I right?
That's correct.
Can you talk about maybe just how does that play into, sometimes you just have one particular sport that you have to worry about, but you are involved in all the sports. So can you give me a little background info on that?
Well, it kind of comes down to having a really great staff. I think we're really blessed to have a staff that's large enough to fit our university here. We have 3 assistants and myself to do it, so we can kind of split up and divide and conquer some of the duties and assignments that are necessary with this. But that's the first step, and the second step is just making sure we scheduling. I think my assistants probably get almost sick of the scheduling conflicts because we have to spend so much time just looking at when teams can come in season versus out of season, what works best with class schedules and things like that. A lot of times at Division I schools, they have preferential scheduling, so they can really block out times for athletics. Here we don't have that, so we really work first around their academic schedules and then find times for teams to lift, and then from there we kind of figure out who works best in the situation with what team and who's going to be there and who might have to come to campus and run a couple workouts. So it's kind of a big jigsaw puzzle, but it's worth it because it gets our athletes the attention they need.
Mm-hmm. Do typically you try to do most of your workouts out at the bubble and just use the gym or faculties here if need be? We
kind of use what we need to use. It really depends. I prefer being at the bubble. We do have a little more equipment out there, a little bigger space that we can get more kids through. More of our athletes can train at the same time, so it's a little better to be out there, but we do have some equipment on campus that works really well. So a lot of times our in-season sports that are on campus, for example, volleyball and basketball and even track and field when they're in their indoor season, when they're working out, doing their practices on campus, it works a lot better sometimes just to be able to zip downstairs in the Stewart Center, zip to that weight room and get a quick workout in there. So a lot of times if they're on campus, we'll try to keep them on campus too.
Okay. Can you expand kind of on the importance of the off-season and how the USF off-seasons really gear them towards success for many programs during the regular season?
Well, what we've come to understand, or I guess what we know, is that athletes don't come here to be better weightlifters. They come here to be more successful when they're on the courts and on the fields and the track, whatever it happens to be. So really our off seasons are geared to help them to get to that point. You know, we're not going to necessarily make them a better football player, a better basketball player, a better track athlete, but what we can do is give them some of the tools that will help them be successful there. So for instance, you know, running faster, jumping higher, those types of things are going to be pretty universal in all the sports that we work with as far as getting them improvements when they do get to that point. So what we really try to focus on is give them transferable tools that they'll be able to use when they are competing for whether it be a spot or competing with another team in our conference or whatever it happens to be. We really want to give them the tools to be successful.
Great. What is kind of just the overall importance, and then what do you think how health kind of plays into the off-season work as opposed to maybe not working so hard in the off-season and just relying so much on the regular season?
Well, as far as safety, athlete safety, is that what you're kind of getting to?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We really look at, probably one of our primary goals is the reduction of risk of injury. And if there is an injury, if we can reduce the severity of it, that's probably one of our number one things that we look at. You know, a stronger athlete is a more resilient athlete. A stronger athlete is able to sustain some more force and able to stop and go correctly and those types of things. And I think we can teach them from not only a strength perspective, but a biomechanical perspective, but also getting them in a great position. A lot of the injuries that you see, for instance, an ACL injury, most of the injuries that are ACLs are non-contact ACLs, where it's kind of a stop, plant, and pivot. But if you get yourself a little bit stronger, you get yourself a little better proprioception, get yourself in a better body position, you can help to cut down on the risk of that happening. Now, we can't be foolproof with it, but if we can cut the risk down significantly, that will help us in that situation. So those are all the things that we can hammer out in the off season. Once you get in season, things go too fast. You don't really have time to slow down and look at those small little nuances that really help you be successful in those areas.
Can you talk about maybe how just the different workouts, how they can provide a beneficial experience for each particular sport? I assume that you don't do the same workouts for football and volleyball and golf.
Correct.
And everything like that.
You know, the first step we look at, or the first step that we take as a staff when we look at what we're going to do with each sport, is we do a needs analysis. We do it. What do they need to be successful? What are the things that they need in their sport to be successful? You know, a baseball player is different than a basketball player. A pitcher is different than an outfielder, for that matter. I mean, so we're looking at different things and looking at needs analysis. What I really pride ourselves on, or what we really hang our hat on, is being able to really modify and individualize our workouts as much as we need to. We can have up to 7 different workouts going per team based on what we need. So not only are we looking at the sport and the needs and how many times a week and what their off-season commitments are and those types of things, but we're also looking at the individual and breaking them down through our pretty detailed assessment protocol of what they need to be successful. And we're able to steer them into a workout level that really fits them better, you know, and the same thing there, whether it be sport to sport or, you know, a freshman to a senior, there's going to be a big difference in what they're able to do and their technical proficiency and their training age and their chronological age. All those things come into play with how we design our workouts, because we really want to give each athlete the best chance to succeed. You know, another thing that goes in there is injury history, and I mean, there's so many things that we look at as we go through those, but basically the bottom line is we're going to try to give them the best chance that we possibly can to succeed when they do get out there to a competition.
How do you end up designing these workouts? Are they mainly all authentic, or do you just adopt some styles or some workout things that from what you've heard? Yeah, sure.
You know, I've been doing this, it's about 15 years now that I've been in this field, and I think the biggest mistake that some strength coaches make, and this is my personal opinion completely, but is that you kind of get pigeonholed and do a certain thing and you only do it that way. I think, you know, just like when you go to build a house, you don't have 3 tools in your toolbox. You have several. And I think just like when we work with athletes, the more tools that we can have in our toolbox, the more ways that we can have to develop them, the better off we're going to be. So again, that goes down to our assessment protocol and what we're going to look at and where they're sitting and what they need to work on. That kind of determines the tool that we use. But everything we design every year is authentic. We start out, we're actually in the process right now of working on our fall sports. We're actually working on the entire year next year. So we spend about 8 to 10 hours as a staff, so all 4 of us are sitting in a room going through the needs and going through our assessments and looking at what we need, and we'll actually go through and kind of plan out an entire year of what they're going to do. And so we're working on next fall sports, for our fall sports, football, volleyball, and soccer right now. We actually are starting to write 2016 leading up to their check-in date next fall.
Wow.
So, but we're going to be very detailed in that. There are changes. There's always changes. I change my mind. I find something else I like. I find a new tool, I guess, for example, and we'll look at all those types of things. But we'll be really ahead. But everything's individually designed and very authentic. There's no template that we use. It's just kind of, this is what's going to work best, so let's attack it with this.
Great. Who is some of the staff that you have? You're the head coach of all that, but then you said you have some other people who work with you?
Yep. We really count our athletic training staff in the mix as well, so it probably sounds a little bigger, but we have 3 assistant strength coaches, which would be Coach Smith, who's been here since June of 2014, excuse me. Coach Green, who got here in January this year, and Coach Lang. She did an internship with us this summer, so she started this past June, and then she did such an outstanding job that we had an opening for her, and she just graduated from Gustavus Adolphus, so we hired her on this fall to be an assistant coach. And so all 3 of those guys have done an outstanding job, with our main goal being our reduction of the risk of injury. We work hand in hand with our athletic training staff as well, with rehabs and with those types of things, and they help us out with some of the assessments and those types of things. But Samantha Lang, Eric Page, and Tara Matheson are also integral parts of our strength and conditioning or our sports medicine staff. I think we all work really well together to make sure our athletes are getting put in great situations.
Great, and the results speak for themselves too.
Well, I hope so. That's our
awesome. Well, hey, I'd like to thank you for your time.
Betcha.
Come back anytime and maybe put me on one of those workout programs.
Sounds good. Anytime.
I could probably pump up a little bit. So.
Well, everybody can just a bit.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
There you go.
Well, thank you for viewing this edition of Sportsline. Take care, and I'll see you next week.